Welcome to the Chief of Cybersecurity podcast, where we discuss relevant information concerning the cybersecurity workforce, business development, and best practices, made possible by CMIS. Learn more at cmis.net. And for a list of authorized publications, visit DewayneHart.com. And now, here's your host, Dewayne Hart.
Welcome, everyone. You have now came on board the Chief of Cybersecurity podcast session. This year has been very outstanding, and it has been outstanding because there has been a lot of changes with cybersecurity because artificial intelligence has came abreast of us, and as well as some of the other initiatives that I have been involved with, from writing for Forbes magazine and a whole different changes with cybersecurity. But what I have noticed the most is that one area that seems to stand out, and that is individuals trying to determine how to build that roadmap to enter the cybersecurity workforce. If you were to go to YouTube, type in the word cybersecurity job, you will get so many search returns. Even if you go out on LinkedIn, you can see so much information that is relevant to cybersecurity and the job market. There are a lot of well-to-do professionals who really want to enter the cybersecurity workforce, but for some reason they either get misguided, or better yet, they may get scammed, or better yet, they just lose interest. And then there's also pressure and false influence. False influence can even go to say that if you're a female and if you enter the cybersecurity workforce, you got to work harder than a male. So a lot of the false influences are there as well. Today, what I want to do is to help you out by cracking the code to enter the cybersecurity workforce. Cracking the code. See, because in this IT industry, there's a secret to a lot of things that we do. And there also is a secret to understanding how to enter the cybersecurity workforce. So let me share a little bit of history with you here. About 15 years ago, there was an individual that was told that they were better off to be a life coach. And that individual decided to pursue that route. The individual had a lot of great background in leadership and development. And that individual was going to take on that challenge. But then the individual decided that the degree program was in IT. And that same individual went and got a master's degree. And then after that, worked on several other type of certifications. At first, the individual wanted to be a network guru, right? Router, switches, firewalls, and so forth. But eventually, the interest changed because the individual started to work on a government project and noticed that cybersecurity was beginning to be the new trend. This is where people were making a lot of money. So that individual took on a challenge and went through and learned everything that they had to do in order to enter the cybersecurity workforce. Over time, the individual decided that they wanted to start a company. So that individual started a company. Then later on, the individual stated, you know what? I got to find something else to do with cybersecurity. Then the person started to write. Then they started to write books. And better yet, the person likes to do the same thing I like to do, which is to engage into podcasting. And today, that person stands next to you on this microphone. That was me. So today, I'm going to share with you my secret strategies for breaking that code and entering the cybersecurity workforce. So I want you to dispel any of the rumors that you've heard, any of the he said, they said, any time someone comes to you and say, hey, I can help you get a cybersecurity job and you can make $200,000 a year. That is true, but it takes you 10 years to make that $200,000. Okay. I want you to sit back and think about the scams you heard. I want you to sit back and just cleanse your brain cell and follow me for the next couple of minutes as I take you through the journey of showing you how to break the code for entering cybersecurity. So the first thing I want you to think about is that there's a door in front of you. And in front of that door is a magical code into the world of cybersecurity. Now, we all know that once you get the code, you can open the door. So I'm going to give you the code today. So let's start off with something that's very simple. If you want to enter the cybersecurity workforce, everything starts with you. You as a person. Are you really committed to the process? What I mean by being committed to the process, you're going to have to realize that cybersecurity is a different industry than probably a previous industry that you worked in, because now you're in a technical industry. And when the word security comes to surface, that means that you're going to be responsible for protecting something. Maybe it's data, maybe it's information. Secondly, you do not want to engage and start to go through the pipeline of learning and doing all the certifications and then drop. Because there are some organizations that are spending money, I mean some free money, for you to get educated. And then you may decide that it's not for you. So that's why the first stage is that you have to do your research. Go and talk to people that have worked in the industry. Talk to people that are currently involved into the industry. Talk to individuals that are almost one step away from getting a job, and sit down and have a conversation with them about some of the things that they did to go enter the cybersecurity workforce. So what you're going to learn through your research is the type of roles that are offered. See, in this cybersecurity world, it is a killer to just state that you want to work in cybersecurity. So I'm going to break some things down to you for a second. There are different roles involved with cybersecurity. And those roles means that you can be an analyst, you can be an engineer, and also, too, you can work in operations like a SOC. A SOC is like an E911 center, right? Where you begin to analyze different data and looking at the traffic and trying to prevent those intrusions from happening. And if you find an intrusion, then that's where incident response comes to surface. And you spend a lot of times learning different tools. And there's millions of tools out there on the market now that you can probably search and find. And that's the premises of working in a SOC, is that you learn a lot of tools. This is the ground-based work of protecting the enterprise. Some of the other things that you can do in this area of cybersecurity as far as roles is to go and look at cloud services, because there's cybersecurity personnel that work on the cloud side of the house. You either can be an analyst, you can be an engineer. And an engineer is pretty much roles is to go implement cybersecurity. So that engineer is going to be responsible for either hardware or software, and in some fashion just to maintain the cybersecurity posture. Okay, so what you have to remember is that there are different roles that you play in this architect of cybersecurity. When you first start off, at least most people are going to be working in a SOC environment, in a security operational center. And when you work in that security operational center, you're going to be the eyes and ears for the enterprise. So as you go do your research into the different roles that are available. Now, some of these are entry-level roles, and some of these are more so advanced roles. But that gives you an idea about when you enter the industry, the type of journey that you would go through. Certifications, and you have to achieve certifications. I hate it when people state that one certification is better than the next. I think you need to have a mix of certification. If you decide to take the Security Plus, that's excellent. Now, go add some cloud services on your resume. Get into networking. Mix your certifications up, because it's certain people that are educated and very smart, and these individuals have been through the pipeline of getting their college degrees, but there's one piece of the cake that is missing now, and that's called your certifications. So what you have to do is to find certifications that you can add onto your college degree program. All right. One of the other areas that you have to focus on too is your soft skills. Soft skills means that you have to be a communicator, know how to resolve problems. And in the cybersecurity world, we all work in a team-based environment. So you have to understand teamwork because you share information, because you're going to be talking to different teams. And that's where your communication comes in. And problem solving means that you are resolving issues. That's your primary goal, is to resolve issues, but also to prevent issues from happening. So as you can see here, when you do your research, go out there and look at the roles, the certification, the education, and the soft skill sets. So let's talk about certification, education, and experience. That is the triangle. This is what vehicles you through the cybersecurity industry. Now, I realize that most people may not have the budget or the funding by a certain source to even pay for certifications. But there are some easier ways to get your certifications and to learn. If you go out on LinkedIn and YouTube, it's so much free information out there. All right. There is free information on almost any certification you can think of. Secondly, is that there are some major programs available from the government that you can go and learn how to engage into cybersecurity. There are a lot of free programs available on the market. So this is part of your research. The second level is your education. Education is important. I know there's a conversation about that you don't need a college degree to enter the cybersecurity workforce. That is true for certain jobs, but keep in mind that you don't want to pigeonhole yourself in a corner, because as you stay in the industry long enough, you are going to compete against people that already have college degrees. So the people with the college degrees and experience, they're going to move faster through the industry. And there's a high probability that they will receive a job prior to you will. So I'm not against the fact of saying that you can enter the industry with just a certification, but you have to add on to that. There are some well-to-do people that started this industry about 20 years ago who always make statements that I do not have a degree, or is that I do not have any certification and I work in IT. Well, 20 years ago, it was not required, because when they start working for certain companies, they just move through the company through different job roles, and it was never a requirement for them to get the certification or the education. So I hate it when people try to put that pass on others and say that they don't have certification, they don't have education, and they made it through the industry. Yes, you did, but times have changed now. It is a competitive market. So I've always believed that you need all three. When it comes to experience, realize that entry-level people do not have experience. Here's the way that you gain your experience. You do self-study, and you go to conferences. YouTube has a lot of free information. Professor Messer, if you ever get a chance to go to YouTube and to type his name in, that's a lot of free information for people that want to learn things such as their Security Plus. If you go to the vendors like Splunk, you can go through hours of training on how to use Splunk. At least when you get to a job interview, you can tell the recruiter that you are familiarized with using these tools. And you can state that you don't have the professional experience, but you studied and you learned these tools, because your job is to articulate knowledge, is to show that you have the foundational knowledge for cybersecurity. No one is expecting you to be a guru when you just first enter the industry, but you should know the basics. If someone asks you, what is the formula for risk? If you say threats times vulnerabilities, well, you're good. Someone asks you what the CIA triad is: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. But knowing how those fit over into risk is very important as well, too. Now, those are your basics. So when you go through your learning, just be intellectual and learn the basics. Never ever try to be the guru if you just first step in your, let's say, for instance, if it's your first time entering the cybersecurity workforce and let's say you're on a job interview, be who you are, okay? Don't try to go overboard. Most recruiters know exactly what you know. So what you should try to do is go out there and learn, and learn. Learn the information and pass the test. Don't just concentrate on passing the test because you may go into a job interview and they can ask you a question that was on your test. Like a simple question is pretty much about the CIA triad and knowing exactly what the CIA triad is. Here goes some other things you can do. It's networking. Networking is very important. It's truthful. If you shake hands with the right people at the right time, guess what? You can get the right job. That's just the way the society works. So when you network with people, always tell them things such as, I want to enter the cybersecurity industry and just networking, maybe, to gain some information on some of the things I can do to make myself more marketable. Tell them that. Don't go up in there and say, oh, yeah, I want to enter the cybersecurity industry and I'm one of the smartest person you would ever meet. That doesn't sound too right. Job fairs are very important too. This is where you meet recruiters. LinkedIn is powerful. Get you some contacts off of LinkedIn. If you type in the word cybersecurity, you could find great number of people to meet. And also make sure that you subscribe to the newsletters on LinkedIn as well too. Here goes something else I want to give you to do if you want to enter the cybersecurity workforce. When there's like an article or a commentary that someone posts on LinkedIn, just go put your response to it. Don't just go yes, no. Write maybe 2 or 3 sentences on your thoughts for these type of articles, because then people read that and then people will see your response and may say, hey, I like this individual because they're thinking wisely. Because 50% of what you do on a job is based on the way that you can roadmap yourself through cybersecurity. The other part is technical. One of the things you can do is go to trade shows. Your social profile is very important. Build a profile. Look very professional on LinkedIn. Look at others' profile. Mimic their profile. If you want to mimic my profile, you can do that as well too. And also too, make sure that you connect with great people that are on LinkedIn. If you're reading some of the articles that I put out, there are some links at the end of those articles to like my social media channels. Connect with me on my social media channels. And if you do, that means everyone that I'm connected with is going to connect with you. That's how it is social media marketing work. Let's talk about something else. It's learning. Learning is very important. Here's the reason why. Because as you progress through the cybersecurity industry, that's how you survive. It's by learning. One of the ways I think that it helps out for learning is to probably create your own newsletter. Even if you're a junior person, there's something that interests you about cybersecurity. You can just create a newsletter and tell a story about your journey into learning cybersecurity and share that information with people. Maybe there's some information that you found that can help others out. And you become that person, especially on LinkedIn. And I'm always going to speak about LinkedIn because LinkedIn is very powerful. So you really have to think about how you use social media, because social media is very powerful when it comes to making sure that you build your profile and that people can see who you are. One of the other things you can do, and I've always liked this, is just go and join some podcast channels. Be part of the podcast channels and go out there and do your research. And if there's a topic that someone has, and if you want to get on the podcast channel just to do a small discussion and just to help out, do that. Because that gives you the idea and the route to learn cybersecurity. Because I found out that most of my learning happens because I podcast, I live stream, and I write. And there's a lot of learning that happens because I have to do a lot of research, but I was able to take that learning and to transition that over into operational work and to understand how cybersecurity operates. So there are some secrets to mastering and cracking the code for cybersecurity, right? But part of that code is to make sure that you stay involved. Because if you think about it, just going back to a couple of things that I've already said, who are you as a person? Are you dedicated to the industry? That's one. Research is very important. You have to research and find information and know exactly what route you want to follow because there's plenty of roles. And there's another part of research too is that you have to think about the type of company that you want to work for. The larger firms are really good for entry-level people because they have more roles. I think that when you look at the larger firms like IBM and a couple other firms out there, I believe they have a lot more roles to offer. Take a look at a lot of vendors that are cybersecurity focused. And if you go and do your research on Google, there are some vendors such as CrowdStrike, Tenable, see who else, Splunk. Those are dedicated vendors that produce products for cybersecurity. Just go through their website and start to look at some of the things that those vendors talk about because you may find interest in those vendors as well. And you never know that they may just have a role just for you. Part of one of the things that I found out too is that there are people that work in IT and want to transition over to cybersecurity. Here's my talk with you. Here's the way that you crack the code because you are halfway through the door. So what you have to do is to learn how to transition what you already do into the cybersecurity labor force. Most people that work in IT today are pretty much a part of cybersecurity. Let's just look at One World for an example. Let's say, for instance, if you are a software developer. Now, software developer job is to build code, but also to remove bugs that you have in your code. So you think about coding and how software developers have to go through the software program and try to identify the buffer overflows, SQL injection, cross-site scripting, any of those type of vulnerabilities that you have, and to fix those. That is cybersecurity. So application developers can transition over to cybersecurity as well. Rather than just being a typical type of application developer, then you can be an application security personnel and you can transfer those skill sets over. Some of the other skills out there on the market, such as if you are a network guru, right? Cisco guru that knows it all. You're probably a prime market to move over into the world of cybersecurity because you deal with firewalls and you deal with ACLs and you deal with traffic analysis, a couple other things that you do. And also, too, you are partly an engineer as well, too, because you have to stage and implement cybersecurity into those firewalls, switches, and routers. Well, guess what? That is cybersecurity in itself if you decide to transition over. From a management perspective, let's just say if you wanted to transition over to cybersecurity as well, you could actually do that because management is focused on the enterprise and making sure that systems are always operational and available. Most of the managers out there, whether you have worked in the networking side of the house, has an interface into cybersecurity. So you as a person can go transfer over as well too. But one of the things about the management side is making sure that you have the certifications like the CISSP, the CISM, and a couple of the level 3 certifications that you need. C-Risk is one too. So as you see here, cracking the code for cybersecurity has a couple moving parts, and I'm going to go over these again. You as a person, make sure you're dedicated. 2 is do your research. 3 is think about the certification, education, and also the experience that's required. The next one is networking. Networking is very important because this is where you shake hands with people. Join these groups on LinkedIn. Do it. Learning is very important too. There's some free tools and some free videos out there for you. Now, I've given you the seed. I've actually given you the seed to crack the code so that you can enter cybersecurity. When you're on LinkedIn and once you use the code to enter cybersecurity, I want you to reach out to me because this is part of your communication that you learn. All right. So I really want you to do that. And as always, these podcasts are so fun. So what I just did is taught you how to crack the code. But after you crack the code and once you enter the industry, the next thing you have to do is understand how to choose the perfect cybersecurity job. How do you really choose that job that fits you well? All right? Because you just cracked the code. And if you really, really want to enhance ways of cracking the code, go out and purchase a copy of the Cybersecurity Mindset. You can reference chapter 18 of the Cybersecurity Mindset that I actually talk about cybersecurity skills. And chapter 19, they talk about wearing the hacker's hat. These are concepts that teach you how to roadmap cybersecurity. And I've always believed that reading the Cybersecurity Mindset as the foundation to understanding cybersecurity helps you with your certifications. So go and purchase your copy of the Cybersecurity Mindset. And I am looking forward to seeing you in the next episode because I am going to talk to you about how to find that perfect cybersecurity job. Until next time, you stay cyber safe.
You've been listening to the Chief of Cybersecurity podcast, where you have gained relevant knowledge to enhance your cybersecurity mindset. Be sure to visit DewayneHart.com to learn more about authored publications, show notes, and discover more information concerning cybersecurity.